Alright, this might be a little different with my book reviews, but I had to talk about this. This book review is going to be called, as you can see, Thirst by Christoper Pike. But the person that composed all these books together, all three of these books together, is calling them Thirst, and it kind of makes somewhat sense, but I don't know. But it's 3 books in one by Christoper Pike. It's The Last Vampire, The Black Blood, and Red Dice. This book was amazing. It was kind of tough. Like any other book, it's kind of tough to actually go through the beginning. The first book is it's always the hardest book, I would say, to actually read. Now, before I tell you guys any spoiler, boo-boos or spoilers, whatever, this is a good book. If you're a Twilight fan, I guess you might like this, but I think this is way better than Twilight. I try to read Twilight. For the first 4 chapters, I pretty much put the book away. And I don't know, I just can't stand, I'm not a really big Bella fan. So when I grabbed this book, when I first saw this book, I was like, with me and my friend Courtney at work. We're like, I was more like, I don't know, vampire, this is totally going to be like a Twilight, this is going to be, annoyingly, and this is going to be retarded. Well, no. So before I continue, I'm going to say spoiler. So if you really want to get this book, it's about this amazing woman who's the last vampire. It has Hindu mythology in there, and it's going to be her adventures. And it's all kind of based here in Oregon, Washington, California, and Nevada in this book so far. So before we go any further, spoiler alert, so stop the video if you don't want to know about it, but if you're curious about it, continue watching. It's about a vampire named Alyssa. That is her modern day name, if you will. I like this book because in the first book she explains to you what vampires are not like. They don't burst in the sun like you see on TV. They don't need blood to live. They don't need this, they don't need that. Like the cliche, like garlic is not like, the cliche vampire is not actually affect her. She is weak during the sun. That is a time when she relatively sleeps. It's kind of like if we stayed up for 24 hours, we kind of get loopy. That's kind of like what she was referencing towards too. She does need blood to live, but she can live for up to 6 months. Without having any human blood. Animal blood is kind of different than human blood. She is a 5,000-year-old vampire. In the first book, you kind of get the drift of that she is the last vampire, and she's going around, and she made a promise to Krishna. There's a little bit of Hindu mythology there. That she made a promise to him over a bet that they played with back in the day when she was young, that if she turned someone else into a vampire, he would no longer giving her the blessings of protection from him or anything else from him, and that she would literally, at the next time they meet, he would literally kill her. That was the promise, because the gods back then were kind of like the protector to human race. They didn't like vampires because vampires were out of the jurisdiction, or I don't know, give you the feeling that, I got the feeling that it was pretty much just like vampire was not cool to the gods. So she got a blessing, she lost her family, she lost her friends, so she created this alias name, Alyssa, where she goes around and she gets caught up in drama, and she falls in love with a boy, and ended up turning him to a vampire because one god knocked him out of the window. It's an amazing story. The first book, The Last Vampire, is an amazing story. Now, Black Blood was kind of unique to read. I think that was my favorite book out of this compost collection majigger. Black Blood was my favorite one. I liked that one because it was getting into the action part. She went to California and started realizing that there's these other vampires that go around biting each other, making a military, and she doesn't know how that happened because she's supposed to be the last vampire. Well, come out with later down the road that that this god, Yorkshire, I think I'm mispronouncing his name. He pretty much was being used and converted in all this stuff. And it was a pretty amazing book. I liked it because it was action-packed. She was fighting. She was showing her skills. That she literally barely lifted a finger to create this humongous strength in killing. She was still weakened because at the end of the last vampire book, she did get staked in the heart by a vampire, an explosion, and pretty much a piano, her favorite piano, pretty much just the wood spurt out of the explosion and just kind of like stabbed her in the heart. And she did survive because that was the whole blessing. So she was kind of weakened by that, but still she had a big strength. Third book, Third Dice, I can kind of care less of it. It was pretty much dealing with military, and she was going through this military place that was actually taking the vampire's blood, putting him on human, messing with alchemy, and it talks about a little bit of our past with an alchemist, and somehow he comes out of the blue and he's still alive, you know, I think 700 years later, and he literally joins a team with this military dude, and he talks about how he's going to create an epic humanoid / vampire hybrid character that actually he can use towards military to attack other countries and whatnot. I think that was one of the main motives. But at the end of the book, she had to go save this FBI that she had to convert into, in the last book, into a vampire because he was dying, and she thought that was not fair. Now, again, she was going against Krishna's blessings twice, and she hasn't faced this guy yet. She hasn't faced this god yet. But she did it twice. She kind of effed up on that one. And she somehow got a Yorkshire. She killed that vampire in the black blood. He was making military. She killed him. Found Yorkshire. Turned him, pretty much drank his blood. Killed him. And she became this epic god / vampire. A vampire girl, and she was pretty much becoming like epic, and FBI got in the mix. Well, at the end, she ended up trying to save Joel, but she couldn't. She nuclear bombed this government place that was making this factory of vampire blood mixing with human blood and trying to make this military. I'm kind of scattered on this review, but I'm just like overly excited to tell you guys this. But she was pretty much, she noticed that the moon was taking effect in her. She noticed that she had the power to float, and usually gods have this power and not vampires. And she pretty much floated out of this place before it had nuclear warhead, and she pretty much floated up, and she woke up human. Now I am on the second, and you can see how they kind of change the cover. I'm on the second book right here, and this one is Phantom, Evil, Thirst, and Creatures of Forever. Now, this, I'm excited because this is actually well written compared to this. The first book was kind of crappy. The second book was like picking up for what the first book was lacking of. And the third book was kind of military, which if you're into military stuff, then you might like it. I don't care for it. But for this one, I give it a 4 out of 5. I was really happy with it, and I had to express this with you guys. Now, from what I heard downwind, that since Twilight kind of faded in and out, and there's room for another vampire series, they were talking about bringing this, and Christoper Pike has been blogging it, I think. And I got downwind of this, so it's not straight from the source of Christoper Pike, but I was told that, I read that they're going to turn these into movies. Now, I don't know how they're going to turn these into movies because there's 5 of these books, and each book's containing 3, so that's 15 books that he wrote about this chick, and he's not even done yet. He has like a couple other books coming out. One especially that's coming out this year in summer. So, hopefully I can read this fast. Hopefully I can read through all of them, which I probably won't. I'm not a fast reader. But hopefully I can read fast enough to see that, to actually get to grab hold of a new book and read it. But they're thinking about making it into movies, and hopefully I think that they're going to just smash these into, like, smash possibly, like, 3 of these books, and, like, this being the first movie. I don't know. It's their deal. But yeah, I had to make a book review of this because this is somewhat not witchy, but there is, because there was a voodoo lady, or not a voodoo lady, a Hinduism lady, and then blah blah blah. You guys get the drift. I'm excited. Deal with it. Till then, guys, blessed be.